Hey, what's going on guys? This is Chounji Akuma, and today I want to share with you my PvE DPS build. Now with this build I get approximately 6,000 DPS on a target dummy at approximately 2,600 assault power. Now of course this is going to be lower in adventures and dungeons, but that's just for your information. So let's get started with your abilities and move on to the amps. First up is Telekinetic Strike. Telekinetic Strike is your side point builder and will be spammed more than any other spell you have. Now the reason we have this at tier 8 is to increase its overall damage, as well as get its tier 8 bonus, which will give you an extra side charge after every 6 casts, which is really nice when you're trying to use your finisher, Mind Burst. Now Mind Burst as a finisher is amazing for these reasons. First off, it does a ton of damage, as well as give you a special bonus at tier 8. Now this tier 8 bonus, when you cast a 5 side point charge of it, will give you a 15% extra critical hit chance, which is fantastic for every single build you have, especially because you'll be spamming Telekinetic Strike so frequently. As well as if you put out another Mind Burst within 7.5 seconds, it has a much higher chance of critting, so that's very nice. Also, we have Concentrated Blade on our LAS. The reason we have this on our LAS is to fill the blank spot in between your Mind Burst and your next Telekinetic Strike. I'll show you what I mean by that in my next video when I show rotation, but for now, just know that this is fantastic and will give you extra side points every time you cast it, and it also does a decent amount of damage. Now you only get one Concentrated Blade every 10 seconds, so be aware of that, and in the future that'll be reduced by quite a bit, so look forward to that. Next up I have Spectral Swarm. This is one of those abilities that helps a lot when you're on the move. This will give you a side point when used, as well as give you a little bit extra damage every couple seconds. Now I currently have this tiered up to tier 6. The main reason for this is because it helps with the damage, but also just because there's no other real place to put these points. You can put them into Concentrated Blade or one of your other abilities, but for now I like it here. It helps me with some damage, and that's just how I like it. So feel free to switch these points around as you wish. Next up is the support ability, Bolster. Now the main reason we have Bolster is just to get psi charges. This regenerates really quickly and will give you 1 psi point every time you use Bolster, and you get 2 bolsters. So that's really nice. It's very useful for DPS Espers. Next up is our utility abilities. Now I have 2 CCs in this build because it's really nice for dungeons and for adventures when you're trying to CC things down. Now I used Crush because Crush is really nice, and it can also be tiered up to take off 2 interrupt armor instead of just 1, so you can take those points from Spectral Swarm and just move them directly over to Crush if you want that extra interrupt armor destroy. Next up is Fade Out. The main reason I use Fade Out is because you never know when you're going to get stunned or CC'd in a dungeon or adventure, and that can be extremely fatal to you and your entire group, so make sure you have Fade Out on your bar to help you escape these dangerous situations. Next up is our final CC, Incapacitate. I really like Incapacitate, but sometimes I switch it out for one of our other abilities such as Restraint, especially in adventures when you need that CC and you don't need to disarm them at all. So feel free to take this out and put whatever ability you'd like in, but that's how I have it, and it really helps with taking off interrupt armor and making my team survive a lot longer. Alright, let's move over to amps. For amps, this is pretty nice. This is what I will suggest to you. First up, under the assault tree, you want to get all 3 assault powers. The reason for this is because it increases your overall damage, and who doesn't like more damage? I also put one of the points into strike through to increase my chance of actually hitting the target. If you're struggling with your strike through chance, meaning you're getting deflected frequently, I highly suggest taking points away from something over here such as critical severity and putting them over here into strike through, so you will have a higher chance of actually hitting your target. As for the tier 2 abilities, I picked all of them. Now, every single one of these is fantastic, so let's go over them really quick, such as Superiority. Since you're not going to be taking very much damage and you're more than likely going to be above 70% health, you're going to increase your overall Moxie by 25% of its current maximum. This actually increased my overall assault power by about 150 to 200, so this is really, really good. I highly suggest taking this if you don't take anything else. Next up is True Sight. While above 3 psi points, you'll actually get a higher strike through chance. This will help you not miss your finishers such as Mind Burst and so on and so forth. This is really nice. This will help you actually hit your target as well. Follow through, when you land one of your assault finishers such as Mind Burst, it will increase your assault power by 10.5 for 5 seconds. This is really nice. This will increase your damage by a lot more than you actually think it will. Next up is the Power. Landing a critical hit will grant an Empower, which will increase your Moxie by another 16% for 3 seconds. Not only do you increase your Moxie by 25%, but on top of that is another 16%. So that's a massive increase in DPS. These combined are going to help you tremendously. So that's why I chose both of these in my build. Finally is Reckful. Once you land a 5-point psi finisher, you will grant an empower that will increase your critical hit severity by 18%. This is really nice because it's going to increase how hard you hit, and because you're spamming Telekinetic Strike so frequently, this is going to definitely increase your DPS by a tremendous amount. So that's the reason I chose all 5 of these, and that's what I suggest to you as well. Next up is your tier 3 End of your Assault. This is Spectral Swarm. It doesn't cost very much, and it also will help you a lot when you're on the move and trying to do a little extra DPS. Finally is Figment. Now Figment, while you're above 70% health and you're damaging a foe, you have a 20% chance to summon this guy, and he'll do approximately 709 magical damage every second for 10 seconds. That's quite a bit of damage, and you're definitely above 70% health almost the entire time when in adventures and when in dungeons, so this is very nice. However, if you're having difficulty keeping yourself above this amount of health, you might want to think about taking out these specific points and putting this somewhere else. Next up is Hybrid Assault Support. Now this is very obvious. This is just increasing your critical strike chance will increase your damage, as well as increasing your overall hit damage by increasing your crit severity. So these combined are really nice, and I found that it increases my DPS, so I do suggest putting it in both these to tier 3 of this first tier. And finally is Hybrid Assault Utility. Now because we're not doing PvP, I did not put it into PvP offense, so I just decided to put it into Lifesteal. You don't really need this Lifesteal exactly, but it does unlock this second tier, which is the Humanity. This is really nice for finishing off mobs as well as bosses. This will basically just increase your damage on your finishers by an extra about 1,000. So instead of critting for 18,000, you're going to crit for 19 or 20,000. So this is really nice. This will help you do that extra little DPS there at the end to finish off. So that's the build, guys. For the most part, I've actually seen a tremendous increase in my DPS by switching to this specific build. I actually received this build from one of my guild mates, which I have in the description below. It has shown that it increased my DPS by over 1,500 from my old PvE build. So I suggest trying this build out, see what you like, what you don't like, switch around what you think would work better for you. And also, tell me in the comment section below what you think would work better and what you found to increase your DPS even more than what I currently run. Anyways, guys, I hope this build helps you out and increases your overall DPS, as well as puts you on the top of those DPS charts to impress all of your friends. Enjoy this build, and I'll see you next time.